Property Investing for Women, empowering women to build wealth through property. A podcast brought to you by Investor Women. Create, nurture, prosper.
Hi and welcome. It's good to see you here today. Today I have the pleasure of sharing with you the story of my friend of over 10 years. She is someone who has been following her passion, starting her own business at 50, breaking barriers, taken the leap of faith when everyone had said this business won't work. And now I'm so proud of her for achieving the success she has. She has been building her property portfolio alongside whilst running her business, and I now have the pleasure of introducing Antoinette Stonham, my friend from All About Styles. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Reshmi. I'm excited to be here today.
So let's get into it. Tell us all about yourself. Who is Antoinette Stonham? What do you do? And why do you do what you do?
Wow. Who's Antoinette Stonham? Well, firstly, I'm a mum. I'm a grandmother. I'm a family person. That's me. I love to cook. I love to share things with my family. And I love playing in the garden. And as I said, cooking is something I absolutely love what to do. So going into my garden, picking my herbs, bringing them in and cooking for my family, having them all sitting around a table. So we have a big long table of 12 people seated. That is me. That's who I am.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing. And to get to there, obviously...
Oh wow, it's been a journey. It has been a huge journey. I was quite young when I had my son, and yeah, it's been a huge journey, just having the two children, raising them, being a wife, being a mum is massive. It's a massive change in someone's life, and as you move along and you build careers and then you leave them, you move away from things. My background was pattern making and design when I was quite younger, so I was pattern maker designer. I worked in Sydney's eastern suburbs. I absolutely loved it, loved dressing up and doing all that. But at that period of my life, I had two children, and living in Western Sydney, travelling to the eastern suburbs was a big thing for me. So my children needed me, so I decided then to leave that part of my life. As for work, I joined my husband. I was working with him for a while raising my children as well. And the big turning point for me, why do I do what I do? I turned 50. That was a big turning point. I think in a lot of women's lives, our turning points come in milestones, 30s, 40s, 50s. But 50 was a big one for me. It really woke me up. I thought, who am I? What am I doing? What am I doing sitting here behind a desk? It's not me. My passion was fashion and dressing up and empowering women, making women feel amazing. And I love colour and I love dressing up, and most people were asking me, you know, how do you put it together? What do you do? So something clicked and I thought, well, I want to do this. I want to become a personal stylist and I want to base myself in Western Sydney. So I just felt there was a gap there, and I saw most women were asking me about it. So I thought, why not do it? I did a course, and that with my skills of pattern making and design, launched my business All About Style 13 years ago.
I know, that's the first time I met you, right?
Yeah, it was.
I was looking for somebody to style or put things together for me, as I wanted to dress well as well, because when I first came to Australia, all I saw was everybody wearing black. Yes. And it's not me. I'm also all about colour and putting it together nicely. So then I met you and that was it. We kind of instantly had that hit and we got on together so well. And that's 13 years ago. Wow.
Yeah, it was. I remember I went and spoke to the networking event and you were sitting there.
Yeah.
And you booked my services and here we are.
Oh, wow.
And and dressing up. Look at
us. That's absolutely correct. Wow. It has been quite a journey. So leaving the eastern suburbs and coming into trying to work and raise a family, so there would have been challenges. And so what was there that kept you going and what inspired you? Who was your inspiration there?
My inspiration was to keep working, doing something, bringing in the money. So for me, doing that, I felt that I reached a point where I've raised my children. They've gone through high school, they're starting uni, they've got their own lives, and then it was time for me. And that's what inspired me and kept me going. And then I pursued my own journey in personal styling, and that wasn't an easy journey. That was a little bit hard because social media wasn't my thing. I didn't even have a Facebook page. So everyone said, you've got to have a Facebook page, you've got to take photos of yourselves. So that's a really, putting yourself out there, and I wasn't used to it.
It's a lot of pressure.
Heaps of pressure, and you don't know whether you're doing it right. So it's all about educating. So that's when I went and did some courses on social media, and I believe everything in life, to achieve, you've got to educate yourself on what you're doing. Because without that education and without pulling people together that are specialists in their fields and learning from them, you won't achieve that full potential.
No. And in your cycle of business, as you were doing your business, a lot of things changed. So technology changed. So, there's been a heap of change.
Heaps of changes for me. Like I said, I didn't have a Facebook page, so I had to learn that. And then you're going onto Instagram, and it's your videos. So your videos, you're editing your own videos, you're doing your own videos, you're setting up a room, you're setting up a backdrop, and so
I must say, you've been inspiring me yourself because of the level of growth you've had in your own business from the time I've known you to where your business is now. It is absolutely amazing. I must congratulate you on that. That has been amazing.
Thank you so much.
I know your story, and that's why I feel like it's so important to share even a little bit of a snippet as to what you've been through to get to where you are today. That's amazing. That really is. So tell us about how you got into property investing side of things.
Oh, well, I think that was another milestone as well. Like, I was about 40, I hit 40, and I'm thinking, I've got to do something. We didn't have a structured super, and being Middle Eastern, we like to see where our money is. We like tangible. So I didn't want to go into investing money in managed share funds and things like that. So property, for me, it was property. But I did it not knowing what I was doing, because there wasn't anyone there to guide you or ask. No one had previously done anything like that. So we purchased our first property. And that was okay, but interest rates started to rise and things started to change. And at that time, I still had children at home. We were still paying school fees and tutoring and everything else. So, it was a little bit daunting.
So, obviously, ups and downs we have in how do you manage? How did you manage? I remember you telling me you've seen the days of more than 20% interest rate.
Definitely, yes. It's restructuring what you're doing with your money, budgeting, cutting things out. I suppose it depends on the person. I like to hang on, and I'm determined. I like to, if I'm dabbling in something, I want to make it work. So I hung on. So we ended up buying another property. Things slowed down again, interest rates started to drop. We felt we were in a better position, and we purchased a second property. So, but even after that, your incomes change, lifestyle changes, there's other needs and wants for the money. So then it's a matter of, do I hang on or do I sell? Do I just give up? In my case, I hung on. But there's all different reasons why you do or you don't.
So how long ago did you start buying your property?
These were around about 20 years ago. So,
right.
I was in my 40s. Yeah.
Wow. And so you've seen so many changes over time.
Yes.
In your own experience, you've done what you did at the time in your life, whatever you could, like you managed however you could.
Yes.
So what do you see different from when you started investing back then to now? Is there, do you see any sort of difference in the type of thinking people have, in the opportunities people have? I can see that there was a lot of resilience on your side, right? So do you see that now?
what I see is there's a lot more people doing it. So you can chat to people, and there are experts now in these fields, which back then I didn't know there was. So I jumped in and bought a property without knowing what I was buying or what I was doing, or actually what am I going to do with this thing. I didn't realise you could build a portfolio and be able to downsell and pay out and different things. So before you start, well, I suppose before you start anything, you really need a plan. You need to know where it's going to take you. And that's what I didn't have at that time. So I was hanging on, not knowing what I was hanging on to. But now, in hindsight, but everything's in hindsight, is having that plan, knowing where it's going to take me, knowing how many properties I need and what am I going to do with them.
Absolutely. So tell me, give me one great achievement with the property side of things.
I think that was something we did together.
I know, right?
Yeah.
It's something we did together. Well, you're going to share it. I don't know.
You can share. It's we did something together. You share.
Well, there was this property we found here in Sydney, and this was just after COVID, I think, and this was beautiful property, and we found it at a great price, and not many people were really looking at buying properties at that time, and basically we did a bit of a reno and flipped it.
Wow, that was really exciting. That's why it's a big achievement. I found that really exciting. I think you need to, when you're purchasing properties, need to know which ones you actually want to do up and flip, and which ones are you going to be your long-term ones. And they're things I've learned from you over time. I didn't know that. I didn't have that type of insight. But a flipper, is really exciting.
But that was a good one. We did that one together. That was quite, just to pocket a bit of money, right? It doesn't always work, but you has to be the right property and the right price.
Definitely.
Yeah. And what about we actually, you did another one in Melbourne, didn't you?
Yes, we did a Melbourne one as well. That one was a little bit different. It was a purchase. They wouldn't move out, so took a long time. And then we renovated, but that time factor worked out well for us because there was a bit of a price rise, so we had a little bit of bonus in it. So there's all different scenarios, so it's not always a clean-cut scenario.
Yeah, of course. So you just have to know what the opportunity is and what you can do with it, and
run with it.
And run with it, not sit on it. Absolutely. Now, if you were to do it all again, knowing your life, you've done your business, you've done the property side of things, if you were to do it all over again, looking back, how would you have done it?
Oh, wow. With the property side of things, definitely I would have wanted to, if I had have known what I know now and what there's so much out there now, and with the education, I would have started a lot younger. Definitely, and built something bigger to transition for really my life now. I'm turning 63, so I would have preferred to have had a bigger portfolio to give me a better lifestyle.
Right. Well, let's talk about the 20% interest rates that you had.
Yeah, they were scary. They were really, really scary times. They were hard to hang on. You have young children and you're in a zone where you think everything's floating pretty well, and you have a budget and you have certain income coming in. I remember at that time my husband worked 3 jobs. He went from one job to another to another. We hardly saw him. I was working as well, all just trying to keep the roof over our head. And unfortunately at that time what happened to us is we just put an extension on. So we'd re-borrowed. So, and then it went off the Richter scale. So it was time to replan, food planning, watching all your bills, cutting everything down to weekly. I cut everything down to weekly, so I was looking what we bought in weekly, and then it was ticking off the box. It was making a list for everything, for your groceries, whether we were buying clothes, did we need them? was making clothes then, so that was okay. But it was tight times and it was scary times. And you watched your electricity, you watched your gas, you watched your water. It's sort of things that I suppose people are doing now, but ours were very, very high, and we hung on. A lot of people around us just threw their arms up in the air and gave up and lost their homes and went to renting. I'm pretty determined, and I dig my heels in, and I try and be very, very resourceful. So it was watching our pennies, actually writing down what we're bringing in and what's going out for that week. And I did it weekly, and it was a lot better track.
Real hands-on stuff.
Real hands-on stuff. And I always had a little account where I used to put $10 a week into, and that was because you've got to have that little bit for yourself and that little bit for your children, to be able to go to the movies, to be able to, say, go and get a haircut and do things. So I always had a little account where $10 went in, and then I worked my budget out from there.
So do you still use the same principles today?
Oh, wow, Reshmi, did you have to ask me that? Yes, to be honest, I do. I do like to know what we're bringing in, what's going out, and where it's going to. And I still have that little account. It's not $10, it's a me account, and I put my money in there, and that's what I treat myself with. So yes, I still budget, I still look at what's coming in, going out, and that's how I handle the interest rate rises, or not just the interest rate rises, your insurance. You look at it, you think, oh wow, that's gone up. I quickly get on, make a phone call and negotiate. So being Middle Eastern, we negotiate everything. So yes, I do that. Every time a bill comes in, I make a phone call and renegotiate it. So I still keep those same principles. I never left them. And for me, I was so young when I got married, I always had to have a structured budgeting all the time. And I've always had a little account where now we use an account for holidays. And I've, because as times go on, your children are grown up, so you don't have that expense, and you've paid off your mortgage, so you don't have that expense, but you've got that money. So it still has to be accounted for, so it's not wasted. I hate waste.
Do you think this type of structure is being taught by parents to their children in this day and age?
I taught it to my children, but I don't think it is. So I'll go back a bit further, a lot further. When my son first started working, I said to him, now this is how we do it. And it was the old envelope system. I know this sounds
I know
really
this.
ridiculous. Yeah, you wrote on it, this is for his car insurance, this is for petrol, this is for rego, and this is for you. So we all, I taught my children that principle, and it was back in the day where it was envelopes. Yeah, just you got paid in cash and you came home, put in envelopes. Now obviously it's all,
cards and electronic.
Cards and that, but still electronic. I still have the different accounts, and they are still all labelled. And
beautiful.
Both my children do that same principle as well.
I think it's the structure and that philosophy that you've got there, and so no matter which format it comes in, it's there.
Yeah.
It's just so hard to see it that way, I think, with the money, because it's all electronic. And how do you teach children all the rest of its stuff?
With my grandchildren, my children teach them cash. My granddaughter, they all have their money boxes, and they save for certain things they want. And they're aged 8 down to 2, and
Beautiful.
They all have their money boxes, and we give them money and they pop it in there and that. Yes.
So where I was going with this is, you had those 20% interest rates, right? And at the moment we've got going from 2% to, let's say, 7%, and people are struggling. So what's your view on that?
Well, I feel it's all relative. Back then our incomes were a lot lower, and yeah, it is all relative, and I think it's the same type of structure. If you can hang on to your home and you want to hang on, then it's actually, budgeting hard and doing without a lot of things, without a lot of luxuries.
So even though your mortgages were lower and the rates were high, your income was also
incomes were lower. And don't forget, back then, most women didn't work or only worked part-time, so you were surviving on a single income.
It sounds like you were the one heading the finance side of things in your family, right?
I'm a bit of a control freak. I like to know where I'm going and what I've got and where it is. So I'm a bit of a control freak. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I think we all need to look at our own finances and be in control. Otherwise, I mean, there's stories like we hear so many stories of when breakups happen, or or partner passes away, women are left not knowing what to do.
Yeah, I don't feel that women should just rely on their husbands. I think they should work with them and know what their finances are, or take control of the finances. Either way. I've always wanted to know where I am. I'm not the type of person that sits back and thinks it's just going to come from somewhere. I need to know where it's coming from. I need to know what I'm spending and what I'm doing. I mean, I have seen women over time where they were in financial stress and didn't know they were in financial stress because their husbands didn't tell them. So I like to be hands-on. I like to know what's going on. But that's me personally. But I feel that women should know in a marriage or in a partnership situation, they should know where they are and where they're positioned so they can help budget.
So there's women who are right there in the prime of their career, right? They are working, they're earning good income. What do you think, having your experience and you're working with so many people, you get to hear a lot of stories. And so what do you think women should be doing?
I think women can make their financial independence, help themselves. If they're in that financial situation where they're earning a fair bit of money and they can purchase a property, why not have something for you?
Regrets?
Regrets? I don't go by regrets. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I would have preferred to have started younger and known more about it.
Yeah.
That would have, I think,
So, what does the next 10 years look like now that you know what you could have done?
Well, the next 10 years for me, well, as I said, I'm 63, so the next 10 years is 73. I'm wanting to travel. My business, all about style, I'll keep that going until whenever, into my late 70s. That's something that is me. That's my passion, that's me. I'm thinking a little bit more travel, and actually it's time now to sit back and have a look at what I'm going to do with my 2 properties to help set me up for later as well. So that's
the other one.
That's in the next 10 years.
I think what we spoke about, the one you had where you were looking at putting a granny flat, now we're going to do a dual income out of it. So that would be another bonus there for you.
We've been discussing, so
Oh, wow. And so, what message you would like to give someone starting out? Let's say if someone is starting in their 20s or in their 30s or 40s, or just general, when someone's starting out.
If you can start in your 20s, if you have a good income and just say you're living at home and you're not married and you don't have children, start investing. Start with this property, start with a unit, start with something small. I believe the earlier you start, the better it is going to be for you later.
And when midlife, let's say, well, not midlife, let's say when people are in their 30s, this is the time when your family is happening, children are coming, and you've got a career as well. So how do you balance all of that? I mean, you had quite a time there yourself.
Yes, sometimes that can become daunting and can put you off when you've got children, you're paying school fees, you're doing activities, all the money's going towards the children, the family, the existing home you may have. Even if you don't have a home, you still may want to invest and have that property rented out while you rent as well. So there's all different options, and I think you shouldn't just put it off because you think you can't afford it. Go to an expert and see what your position is.
And so what happened when we were driving in the car and then you was saying something around when you hit 40 and you think, what was that?
40. I think 40 makes you really think. That's when I started buying my properties for a female and having children and that, and you're thinking, what's going to happen later. I'm going to need more money later on, or I want more comforts later on, I want to travel later on, how am I going to do it? So for me, that was my big turning point around 40. I was drowning with children and a house and mortgage, car payment, the business and things like that, but I knew I needed something for the future. So that's when I dabbled in my first property. So yeah, I feel 40 is a big turning point for a female in a financial way.
Yeah. So knowing that, I've heard this from many women actually, so knowing that that is a natural thing that would happen, you can be prepared, right? So young ones, saying people in their 20s, they can at least plant a seed and get a property and leave it for the time when they come to 40, if they, you know, if they really then can decide what they want to do, that's absolutely a bonus sitting there for them to work with, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think the earlier you start, the better. But if you do hit that point, like I did at 40, and you feel you're financially able to do it, have a go.
Yeah. Yeah. So what is All About Style?
All About Style is a passionate personal stylist who loves to help both men and women dress with confidence, feel good about themselves, and most importantly, love what you see in the mirror.
And so how do people reach you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, I'm on YouTube, or you can pop over to my website on allaboutstyle.com.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property, or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned. This podcast has been brought to you by Investor Women.